Hello.
Hello, Caroline.
Hello, Abby. How you doing today?
Wow, that's a heavy question right now, Caroline. It's a
Yeah.
heavy question. I told you I just now came back from Amona, and anyone who's following the news sees that the army just closed off Amona, just sealed off Amona. No one's allowed to go, and I just got out. Now, let me tell you something. This is what's bothering me, and I'd love to hear your insight. When I was there, someone showed me an old cistern, thousands of years old, and an old wine factory, thousands of years old. It's ours. It's Jewish land. It's Jewish land. And it's because of an illegal occupation by the Jordanians and fictitious paperwork that maybe someone has ownership over this, and yet we're the only ones who recognize this fictitious Jordanian law. What? Wow. And yet people in America are silent about this, and they're complaining about a fake Muslim ban. Help me out here. That's where I'm at, asking me how I'm doing.
So look, in Israel, it's funny. A friend of mine was looking at the newspaper the other day, and she said, "Look at these crazy headlines. What, uproar on Trump's ban or whatever, his 90-day pause on immigration from 7 countries that were chosen by the Obama administration. Netanyahu refers to the media as Bolshevik leftists, this, that, and the other, and going on and on." And I said, yeah, that's just like the headlines in the United States, because basically what you have here with Amona, what you have with Trump and the uproar against him by the left, is you have a fight over whether you can have national self-determination or not, whether nations are allowed to determine their own course as nations and advance their policies that advance their national interests. And you have a very loud, empowered, post-national, anti-nationalist, globalist left that uses all of the tools at their disposal, the media, the judicial brigades, whomever, bureaucrats in the United States, the IRS, to impede the ability of the people in Israel and the United States, and of course we see it in Europe, to actually implement policies that advance their national interests. And everywhere you go, it's like the same story, that the people who are elected have no power, and the people who are not elected and force their appointments upon the elected are the ones who are calling the shots. For me, the best news coming out of Washington really over the past week, which has been a week of extraordinary news with the new Trump presidency, is that he just fired his acting attorney general, right? Because she said that his executive order was unconstitutional, which it manifestly is not. And the whole uproar against...
But why is it manifestly not?
Because the president has the right under the Constitution to determine U.S. immigration policies. It's very clear. I mean, my friend and colleague Andy McCarthy wrote about this in National Review, and it's a slam dunk case. I mean, they have no argument against him from a constitutional perspective. And, it's the same thing with our Supreme Court overturning all of these Knesset laws that are supposed to determine what we do with illegal aliens who come in here, infiltrate our borders from Africa, and then say that they're running away from something, and therefore we have to give them citizenship and everything else and free insurance and blah, blah, blah. No, we don't. I'm sorry, we have a border. The fact that you stole across it doesn't mean that you get the rights of an Israeli citizen. Why should you? I didn't work my whole life and pay all of my taxes in order to support you and your criminal clan that are all coming here illegally. What the heck? It's not my responsibility. But then comes in the Supreme Court of the State of Israel and time after time after time bars the Knesset from doing anything about it. It says everything that they do is unconstitutional. And by the way, Israel has no constitution. It's all made up.
Right.
And it's the same thing as these poor people in Amona, right? They've been living there for 20 years, and the international left, paid for by the European governments are funding these NGOs that are registered in Israel that are then working hand in glove with the radicalized courts and the radicalized attorney generals to submit petitions saying that Jews have no right to live in the cities that they built 40 years ago, in the homes that they built 25 years ago, because there's, a sliver of land that's of questionable ownership. But by the way, they can't even prove that it belongs to them. But that's okay, because based upon the sliver of doubt as to whether or not all 100% of the land that this house has been standing on for 20 years without anybody having any problem with is completely by the book state land or not. And for that, you're throwing families out of their homes, you're destroying communities for nothing.
Right.
And it's all because we have this problem in the West that, Israel is very much, at the pinnacle of this left-wing opposition to the nation state, right? I mean, we are sort of ground zero of their attempt to destroy the whole concept of the nation state. Because if you can say that Jews have no right to the land of Israel, you can say anything. I mean, there's no
one has any right anywhere.
Ever. I mean, we developed the whole concept of a nation. We developed the whole concept of a national homeland, 4,000 years ago.
Right.
And everybody knows it. So that's why it's so important for them to disavow the right of the Jewish people to our homeland, because if we have no right to it, then nobody does. And you can tell the Americans that, that they shouldn't be allowed to have English as their national language, and that the Americans stole all of their land from Mexico, and I don't know why. Because obviously, if you can do it to the Jews in Hebron and in Jerusalem, Phra and Eli, in Shiloh, where Joshua divided the tribes and the tabernacle stood for over 1,000 years. If all of these areas are illegally occupied land of a people that came into existence 40 years ago because the KGB invented it,
She's talking about the Palestinians, just in case.
Right. I mean, then you can tell, and if you can get people to believe this, then they'll believe anything.
Right. So things are not stopping with Trump. One headline after another headline after another. Hey, is it going to stop? Is this what we're going to be seeing? Are we going to have 4 years of this?
I hope so. Look, I mean, right now, the thing that I'm most distressed about is that the Senate is not voting on his cabinet picks. I mean, somebody wrote today, well, what do you think? How is he supposed to do anything other than governed by Twitter when nobody's giving a vote for his attorney general and for his Secretary of State and all the rest of him? He has no cabinet. He's supposed to enact, reform of the Obamacare fiasco, but they're not approving his Health and Human Services Secretary. So, it's possible that we're just going to keep getting these tweets until they get tired of it and allow him to have a cabinet. I don't really know. But at least he doesn't look like he's backing down on anything except, of course, Jerusalem, which, as I said, would
probably
be a disaster. Fault. It's all,
Right. So then I'm going to take it from a different direction, because you brought up, and this is quick, folks. Quick, unbelievable insight.
All right, from Caroline. I have to pick up the kids in 10 minutes.
Yes, that's live. This is real life, live. You mentioned that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just came out with his statement about the media being Bolshevik.
True.
And I imagine he all of a sudden is feeling he could come out and say these things now that there is... We're waiting. We're off on the other camera. We're just waiting for something to happen. For sometimes
due to poor
internet
wireless connection.
Weird. All right, we'll continue here in the meantime. What was I going to say? I was going to say, that probably he's saying this because all of a sudden Washington is different and Trump's there. Do you feel that? Do you see that the same way I'm seeing that? And that all of a sudden Bibi is going to be a little different in how he deals with things and have more of a, as we say, a gav here in Israel, more of the guts to stand up to the left elitist system here?
I don't know. I think he's doing it because he's being personally targeted by the left for destruction. I mean, they're doing everything they can. They're looking under every stone, under every rock, and pretending that they have something under all of them in order to, develop this motif inside of Israel that the prime minister is somehow or another a criminal.
We're back. Oh boy. All right, don't know. But all right, so you think it has to do with he's only allowing himself to say that because he?
I think he has to say it because now they're coming to get him. For 20 years he's been in charge and has allowed these media elites to run rampant over Israeli society. And, the best that he could come up with was supporting Israel Hayom, which is a fine newspaper, but I mean, it's not like they're pushing an alternative narrative. So what I was saying to the people while mine was out, but can't say it because mine is out again. Oh, well, you'll see. We're simultaneously doing this on 2 cell phones, and Avi's is working.
It's the same internet, right? It's the same
Yeah,
internet. All right, she's back.
A more robust internet connection apparently than I do. But all I was saying was that Netanyahu is going against the media right now because the media is going against Netanyahu.
Right. Okay.
And, you know, it would be nice if something good would come of it, but let's not forget that he's also the communications minister. And he could do something. He could open up the regulatory environment. You know,
Right.
he could open up the regulation for broadcast media, and he doesn't.
Got it.
You know.
All right. Any final word of the day, Caroline, before we go pick up your kids, or you go pick up your kids? I have to go home to my kids.
You know, look, I was at the Likud convention this past
That's
weekend.
right. We didn't get to talk about that.
Yeah, I was at the Likud convention this last weekend. That was the first time that I've been to any Likud events, and I have to tell you, I was very impressed by it. There were a lot of smart people there who were really interested in figuring out how to make this country work. And so, no, I was happy because I was kind of wary, right? I mean, they would say, "Oh, Likud,"
Right.
they're somehow or another, you know,
Right.
tough guys. But maybe they were tough guys, but they were smart. And I really enjoyed the experience. Aside from that, we missed the storm this weekend in this neighborhood.
That's right.
So,
That's right. You had I guess you had nicer weather. We had a real winter.
Well, it was cold, but it
For
was.
you.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's all we have to say. My internet is not working.
All right. Next time the internet will
Next
work.
time it'll work better.
All right.
I gotta go.
All right. Take care. Thanks
Take
so much,
care.
Caroline.
Take care.
Shalom,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.